My name is Nicole Looper, and I am one of your thinking partners today, as well as
Amy Schmidtke.
And so we wanted to just share our story. And when we was coming up with the title, we were just really thinking about how to describe our journey, right? So collaborative walk with class. That means a whole lot of people got together and we're doing this together, right? And it says walk, not run, no baby steps, but walk. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So technical difficulties, Amy, I'm sorry. Okay, old fashioned, I'm gonna just cue you, okay? This is who we are. My name again is Nicole Looper. I am a program specialist, early child program specialist in Omaha, Nebraska, and Omaha Public Schools. I have my dear colleague here. She's gonna introduce herself as well. A little bit about me. I know I look very young, thank you. But I have been in the early childhood era for, I would say 18 years. I started off as an assistant teacher and kind of moved up the ladder. And I think I pay homage and tribute to my experiences because I had to walk the walk to be able to talk the talk. And so enough about me. I just wanted to I have from coaching to teaching to administration level, management, Head Start, early Head Start, you name it. I think I did it, as well as waitressing and other things too to kind of contribute to that. But I want Amy to introduce herself as well.
Okay, my name is Amy Schmidtke, and as a part of our collaborative walk we're talking about today, we're talking about not my frequent position or my current position that I have today, but my position before when I was working with Nicole. But my name is Amy Schmidtke, and I have been in the early childhood field for 20 years, starting also as an assistant teacher, and then an elementary teacher, kindergarten, first grade, English as a second language, but primarily pre-kindergarten, and then working as an instructional coach.
Okay, so we wanted to see who's all in the audience. Of course, you don't have to really talk about your position, but we just want to see your journey, okay? So if you've been in early childhood for less than 5 years, please stand up. Okay, awesome. Okay, 5 to 10 years. Wow, okay. 10 to beyond. You don't have to stand up. You can stand up. You can stand up. Be proud. Stand up. Awesome. The reason why I did that is because, as you know, early childhood has evolved, right? We are better together. So for those 20 and beyond years, be looking for the microphone to come your way because I need your expertise too because we're all in this together, okay? Awesome. I don't know. Okay.
It's coming up with don't you want the internet lady? And I don't.
You can see we like to have fun. So some of our objectives today is basically we're going to discover, investigate, analyze, and learn. In our walk together, we really wanted to just really give you a snapshot of what we've been through in our walk with class. We are still walking. We are. This is a journey that started in 2013 in Omaha Public Schools, and I'll give you a little bit of history of our program. So, Omaha Public Schools is one of the largest school districts in Nebraska. We have an awesome partnership with the learning community of Douglas and Sarpy County, where we got a chance to just have this innovative program at 2 schools in the urban areas of Omaha, which is called North Omaha. A lot of the schools that you'll get a chance to hear about, are now expanding, but our focus was on 2 schools purposefully, thank you for my retainer, thank you Mom for braces, but purposely trying to include an intensive model of quality. In our walk, we are going to kind of go into detail, I'm sorry for moving, just giving you a snapshot of our teachers, our instructional teams, as well as some of our parents and the areas of what and where we were. Thinking about one of the schools that we currently had, we're an inclusive model. So we have Head Start, special education, as well as Title I funding or state funding, and then we call it an inclusive model. So in these two schools, predominantly in North Omaha, which is majority poverty, we really wanted to get the best of the best, right? So when we started in our journey, I was new to the position in 2013. I started August of 2013, August 1st, and we started the program on August 15th. So you can imagine the rush of building the train on the tracks. In addition to that, Kellum Elementary, just giving you a little snapshot of their teachers, we had 5 teachers. One of the teachers is a special education resource teacher that floats in between all 4 classrooms. And then the other 4 teachers were classroom teachers. 2 out of the 5 teachers were brand new. The other 3 were seasonal teachers. 1 taught special education primarily. The other teacher taught kindergarten, and she moved to the early childhood area. So a lot of great experience with classrooms, teaching practices. However, with the new teachers that came aboard, they had no idea about classroom organization, classroom modeling, nothing. In addition to that, I wanted Amy to explain the demographics of Conestoga Magnet because we have instructional coaches as well. Amy and another instructional coach were housed at each school. My position was to support both schools. So I'm going to let Amy talk about the demographics of Conestoga.
Okay, so as she said, there's 2 schools. There's Kellum and Conestoga. There's an instructional coach at both, and I was blessed to be the instructional coach at Conestoga. And I remember in my early days of meeting Nicole, I went to her and said, all 5 of these teachers are brand new. None of these teachers have heard of Teaching Strategies Gold. None of these teachers have heard of class. They are teaching Letter of the Week. They have no materials on the shelves for toys because they are worried the children will knock them off the shelves and make a huge mess. Nothing is labeled. It was crazy. So I walked out of my own classroom thinking, oh, isn't this going to be such a joy? Now I'm going to be an instructional coach and I can share what I've learned and they're just going to be so excited. Guess what? They weren't excited. They weren't excited at all. They did not want the children to play. They wanted to drill and kill everything. And so it was a mountain. And I said to Nicole, why do I have the school with all brand new teachers? Like, you're killing me over here. And Nicole said, oh, Amy, you're better off. You're better off with the new teachers because they're moldable, right? They can learn. They're fresh. It's the seasoned teachers that can be more difficult to bring along. And lo and behold, after now 4 years into our journey, I will say, yes, Nicole, I didn't believe you, but you were correct.
Does anybody else can relate to that? Good. As Amy was talking a little bit about Conestoga, it made me think, okay, now where are we going? I got the opportunity to sit on a great training before the workshop, and they were talking about how the class can be intimidating. And at first I'm like, no, I love the class. Like, I'm all about the class, right? But when you present this book in front of teachers, they're like, they got a whole manual? Are you serious? And you want to come into my classroom and do what? Oh, no. So this is our journey, and one of the greatest things I can say is we are honored because we're called a clinical model. So we have the University of Nebraska in Omaha come and bring their college students into our classrooms, in addition to Metropolitan Community College, where they actually have classes at both of our sites. So they were able to understand what we're going through and the practices and why we were using the class to use as for coaching. Okay. And we wanted to show you a little snapshot of a teacher. Kayla Parr is a first-year teacher. She's going to give us some of her highlights of the class.
And she was a first-year teacher when we started. Now she's finishing her 4th year, so.
Yes. Okay, as they're fixing the speaker, Kayla is is one of the teachers who was very nervous in starting her teaching practices. She was a teacher who was like, okay, Nicole, and Amy, I just want to make sure I'm doing it right, you know. So she's going to kind of talk about this verb of being the class now, and which is interesting concept is because she said you can't just do the class, you have to become it. And so she's going to definitely kind of go into that a little bit.
Kayla Parr, and I am an inclusive teacher, early childhood teacher at Conestoga Magnet School in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, this is my 4th year teaching, so it's been a 4-year journey of understanding class and becoming class. When I first started, the tool can be extremely overwhelming. There's a lot of components to it, but if you really take the time and are willing and open to becoming class rather than using it as a checklist, then your opportunities just expand and become endless.
All right. At your table groups, I want you to discuss what is the opportunities become endless. If you wanted to go to that table, you can. Think about opportunities are endless for a teacher, and then also think about what she just said. Share with your partners or your table group to find out what does that look like for this teacher, and why do you think that this teacher said that?
No, I mean, I think the whole idea of the template itself, the idea of teacher-child interaction can become a template for adult-to-adult interaction. It can become a template for doctor-patient relationship. I think there's a whole host of, once you understand the template and understand, I think the philosophical idea, the underpinnings behind it. I was just telling them about positive climate. Mm-hmm. You can use it at any level, regard at any level, we don't have to worry about concept development and instructional support per se, but overall, I think it provides a template for just human interaction. So that's just my take on it.
Good. Thank you for sharing. I know with a lot of our teachers, and I'm just going to say our teachers because they belong to all of us. We were all in this work together. But one of the things that when she talked about the checklist, sometimes I think a lot of teachers think I can check this off, did that, check that off, I got that. Okay, what about, yep, I got that too. And they don't really understand how you have to really become the teacher who you are for the children. You really have to be able to be a lifelong learner. And what does that look like? Because you don't know what you don't know. So it's the opportunities are endless. When she said that, I was thinking Kayla, you nailed it, girl. You're right, because we just can't all of a sudden assume that kids come with these great tools into the classroom. And the same thing if you think about the parallel process. You can't always assume that teachers come with these great things from college. You have to be able to build upon great things. And that's even including myself as an early childhood program specialist. I can't assume that when I walk into the classroom or when I go into the classroom, I'm doing this huge checklist. I have to be able to really know and be very intentional about my relationships, not only with the teachers, but also with the students, to get these children to have these great outcomes, because they are going to be our president one day, right? So we're talking about teacher buy-in. And also, I hate to say this, but really trying to sell it, that these are great opportunities. And I like this slide because it says same old street and change boulevard. When you think about change, do you get a little bit nervous? Absolutely. I know when someone's missing from work, we're like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? But when you think about how we're going to change the era of early childhood, we want to create this ripple effect. And the ripple effect starts with great teaching. So one of the things we had to do at the beginning of our journey was we had to do an introduction to class. So we did focus groups. And I'm gonna tell you, there are some group teachers that, can I put you on the spot, Jonathan? Okay. Jonathan Fribley is a good colleague of ours. And one of the things that we've noticed is we have some great teachers that are gun-ho, and they will go out and do it, right? As soon as training is done, they're like, I'm practicing that tomorrow. Then you have some resistant teachers like, I don't know about that. Let's try this next year. And we just started in September, right? So buy-in is possible. It is truly possible, but it's how you're selling it. And what are you doing to help teachers really understand that this is an opportunity for us as a group to dive in this together. Not one person knows more than the next. We're all in this together. So we had some great focus groups. We kind of really listened to the teachers' voices and also the instructional coaches' voices. One of the things that we practice in our schools is reflective conversations or reflective meetings. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but each school is different. One school will meet with the teacher every week. The other school will maybe meet twice a month. It just depends on your teachers and your audience. And so we reflect with them about the new things that were coming up. In addition to that, our instructional coaches was able to get reliability, class reliability observers. And so that was a great opportunity for us because they looked at, now they have a different lens of what the tool looks like. In addition to that, our teachers, with the great initiative with the learning community, our teachers were able to get at least 15 days of professional development. So we try to really focus in on how does the class look like in different situations, whether it's literacy training versus behavior management training for positive behavior supports, but we really try to infuse the class in our training, okay?
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about both professional development and coaching, mainly focused on coaching because that's my role. But it's the professional development that really supports the coaching and the coaching that supports the professional development. It's a cycle. So it's really important to really bring both of them together. For example, when we first started our journey, I mentioned kind of where the teachers I worked with were at. So they really needed a background in ECHRS, in baseline of developmentally appropriate practice, in play. They needed to learn how to play with kids. They needed to buy into what play really was. So our professional development that first year was really focused on ECHRS, which is more of an accountability piece, right? Not a really high-level thinking piece as the class is. But they needed that baseline. And so a lot of my coaching had to do with helping them set up the environment, helping them set up centers, and really digging into what that could look like and could be. Year 2 is when we really dug into the class, and that's when our professional development with the class and the teachers started going. So we had some outside consultants in similar work with what Jonathan is doing now with the teachers, come in and do some intensive training on class, the different dimensions and domains of class. And what I was able to do as an instructional coach is I would attend those sessions with the teachers and I would think about all of these things in terms of those individuals that I worked with, and then would use those in coaching notes, which by the way, tomorrow I'm presenting utilizing the class to coach with impact. And that's where I'm going to really dig into the coaching practices that we did in this program. So that's my session tomorrow, a little shameless plug for all of you. But I was able to take in that PD that we were getting and utilize that by going and meeting with individual teachers on what they were interested in and what they really wanted to grow. And then also working with the group as a whole, as a professional learning community where we were learning together. So it was multi-tiered levels of professional development and coaching in a lot of different ways that really built a team, because really the power of our work in our project had to do with collaboration and really, really working together, supporting each other, willingness to be vulnerable, willingness to not know, but know that my sisters next to me have got my back, and we're all working together in order to make a really, really positive impact on children and student outcomes.
All right. Another component when we're talking about implementation, I'm going to tell you, coaching, I don't want to put that plug in, but coaching is basically your professional development walking on wheels, because when you think about what Amy did it with her group, we failed to mention that we also have grade level meetings. And in those grade level meetings, we were able to even dig deeper and dialogue and brainstorm of how does this look for us in our classroom. So just like probably some of you guys, you probably used videotaping in addition to pictures. The teachers really have to see it, to know it, right? Because if you want me to change a practice that I'm doing in my classroom, in my mindset, I have to understand, what does that look like? Because you are the eyes and the ears of the teacher at that moment, and so how are you going to capture that? I love videos, and some of the teachers do not. So one of the things that I had to do as a learner with them was to get videotaped. I had to put myself on blast. And when I tell you the respect level, when you are filmed yourself and the teachers can kind of like tell you what you're not doing, that kind of opens them up like, okay, I guess the trust is there. I can do that. So another thing about implementation is we use class for professional development, and we only are evaluated once a year through Monroe Myers, the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And the reason why we have an outside evaluator is because with our great partnership with the learning community, we have our own research department, but if we're going to compare this to other schools, we don't want to be biased. And so we had the opportunity to partner with them, and so they will come in. And the first year, we have done a lot of videotaping, like we get the video and the teachers control the video, and then we send the video to Monroe Myers. We've done that for 3 years. Now we're on our 4th year, and we're like, okay, we need to change this up. You guys are doing a great job, but we need live observations. Because once you have someone that's coming in live, it gives us an opportunity to really see if this is really accurate in your scores. I'm going to tell you, some of the teachers are very competitive, if you probably already know, because we're all in early childhood. We want to be the best. So, of course, they talk, and of course, you compare scores, but it's not about the score. We had to tell them it's not about the score, it's about changing practices. And so, I said that to say this. Teachers will aim to get a 7, right? All of them will aim to get a 7. And if they don't get any close to a 7, they're disappointed because they feel that they work very, very hard. And so what we did as a group, Amy and I, had to really talk about strengths. Your strengths in these areas are this and that. Your strength is in, language modeling, or your strength is in classroom organization. Let's try to focus on the one area that you wanted. And I'll let Amy talk, because I know she was going to hit me from the back. Let's talk about your strength in this area, and let's look at how your strengths also can accommodate the areas of growth. I think when we talk about how we implement it, is basically off of the relationship of the teacher, of course, in addition to trust, because they have to understand that their voices are heard and that we're going to do this all in an era of a decade. We're not going to just rush this process, okay? All right, reflective discussions with teachers. Anybody unfamiliar with reflective conversations or reflective dialogue? Okay, awesome. So when you think about talking with teachers, You guys, in your groups, talk about some of the things that you're currently doing, because I believe knowledge is in the room and we can all share each other's journey. So talk about amongst your group or your tables about what are some of the discussions and how often do you meet, and if you want to introduce yourself, and also what are the great things that you guys are doing and talking with teacher discussions with class. Did I put some of you guys on the spot because you're like, Okay, so we are going to have this opportunity to share out, because I believe it's when we talk about collaborative, we have to use the great resources that we have in our room. So if anyone would like to share about how do they do their reflective conversations with their teachers so we can all learn, or what are some of the great things that you've thought work well and maybe a growth opportunity. Oh, thank you.
So truth in advertising, I don't currently work directly with teachers, but when I did, one of my first questions after an observation would be, tell me how you think that went, with the caveat that I did not want to hear what didn't go well. I wanted to hear how it went and what they thought they did well, to remind them that they have other strength for this.
Absolutely.
They'll just give you a laundry list of everything that was
Yes, they will. Like, why aren't you telling me anything? And you saw it too, Nicole. Tell me what to do. And that's not what it is. Anyone else want to share? Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Right. We started talking about professional learning communities. We're both using a free conference call. So you're using Zoom and I'm using just free conference call. And so we can connect and have connections with those learning communities virtually. And that's been working really well because number one, the free conference call is free. And, and then we can record those, and what we're finding is that they piggyback off each other. They're building a community, it's not all on the coach, and then they actually give that support, and that's been really helpful.
Good, thank you for sharing.
I'm sorry, was that an app? Was that Zoom?
Zoom?
Yeah.
You want to talk
so
about
you can just Google it and it'll come up, and it gives you 45 minutes. It's like a Skype or a FaceTime or something like that, but you can do it with multiple people online.
Right, and mine is just called free conference call, same thing, that you have free, you can do video sharing or whatever you want to do, and you can record it for later for future support.
Yeah, thank you for that resource. See what I'm talking about? It's all this type of things in this room. We need to connect. Anyone else want to talk? Tell an experience? Okay. My biggest aha with the reflective conversation with teachers, I think, was that I think sometimes when you're sitting down and you're having a conversation with teachers, they want you to have all the answers. Anybody experience that? And when you don't have the answers, you're sitting there like, what am I going to say now? But I think the biggest aha for me in this journey is we don't have to have all the answers. We explore this together, because if you give her something or he something to do as a strategy and it doesn't work, it's going to look like an ultimate fail on you, not them. And I think we have to really we have to dive into what would you like to try and how can I support that? And then let's go back to reflecting on, okay, if it really worked well, why did it work well? So we try to explore that as much as possible using the class. That's one of our, we're driven on the class. We're passionate about the class. So that's one of the things that we really try to reflect off of. All right. Next is our program scores. This is our intensive classroom program scores for child outcome and how we, over the years, explore class. These are the classrooms, are all 8 classrooms, excuse me, in 2013, 14, and 15, and their scores as an overall program. So as you look there, we still got work to do. And this is great for where we're coming from, emotional support and classroom organization. Instructional support is always going to be our driven force of growth, because sometimes I think that after hearing the teachers, they're saying, I asked all those questions like you told me to. Those how and why, and my scores did not go up, Nicole or Amy. But it's not all about, it's how are you doing that? What efforts are you putting, what things are you putting in the classroom so children can explore those great things? So we have been really working hard on really boosting our instructional support skills or domain. Any questions on evaluation? I'm sorry?
4 cycles.
Yes, we do 4 cycles. Yeah. So we're hoping that 2016-17, we're going to raise the roof. We're still going to raise the roof anyway, because when you think about a lot of our children and where they come from and what we're doing to implement growth, we've already won because we have some solid teachers, and I'm just so proud of them.
That's in 7 classrooms.
That's in 8 classrooms. Yes.
Over the course of those 3 years there, have you seen much change?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. Maintain those scores, yes. And so I wanted to tell you that we've had, of course, Amy Schmidtke has been with our Conestoga teachers for 3 years, 3 years. We lost 1 teacher that year, but we were able to gain a strong teacher who just fresh out of college too. So it was an amazing journey of how all 4 of the teachers, because we consider the special education teacher our teacher too, because she goes in all 4 rooms, how they kind of wrapped around that teacher and really tried to get her to understand the tool just as well as Amy Schmidtke. And the other school, Kellum, we had, the teachers mostly stayed the same. We just had a turnover in coach. So it was, I think it just really pays all efforts to professional development because they were able to hear the same things and really understand what that looks like. I know in speaking with, for one school versus the other, I think that it truly goes back to the buy-in of your teachers and how gun-ho they are about implementation and applying it.
It's a big jump from 14 to 15 in instructional support.
Mm-hmm.
6 tenths is huge.
And I want to say in that year, 2015, okay, so let's go back. I didn't get a chance to tell you this. 2013 and 2014 was a voluntary thing. So a lot of when I say a voluntary thing, I didn't mean to say thing, but a voluntary training where they had to go outside their program hours. So basically after school, or we'll try to hit and miss during, during the school year, whenever it was available. And that was good 3 days out of the school year, okay? So in 2013-14, we had to really infuse class with grade level meetings and the focus groups. Now one school, I'm not gonna say who, but one school was more eager than the other school. They would stay after, but they were bought in. They would stay after work to really like collaborate as a learning community team because they were really focused on why, I really want to implement this. I really want to do the best that I can to be a great teacher. And they had a coach that stayed after too. That really kind of gave great questions to their practices. 2015 is when we were able to embed subs into our day throughout the year. So we were able to have 8 trainings throughout the year in addition to what was offered outside their day. So you can see the jump when you have once a month that is already embedded versus sporadic. Okay, I laugh at this because lessons learned, it is a process, y'all. Blood, sweat, and tears process. I can say some of the lessons learned is when you have 2 or 3 people that is passionate for class and the other ones that are just not understanding what that looks like and how it looks, it becomes confusing. So it's really understanding your relationship with your teachers and then relating that back to the class. So I'll give you an example. And you got to give me another example too, Amy. I'm going to give you an example. We had a teacher who was having some huge behavior management issues. Does that sound familiar? Sounds like some of your classrooms? And we were trying to infuse class into, some of the things that they're doing in the classroom, right? And she was not having it. She was very resistant. And one of the things we had to do was we had to understand what was the major areas that this teacher was focusing on. And once we known that, one of the areas, she wasn't ready. She had too much wait time. When she was getting frustrated that her kids were running all over the place because they were waiting. And then in addition to that, they were doing what kids do. They hit and they kick and they scream and they run when they're bored and they're nothing, I don't have anything to do. So we really had to take that productivity and look at what does that look like and then also look at classroom organization to find out, okay, what's one area you would like to dive in? She said, I want to do concept development. And I said, okay. Okay. All right. But what is your biggest focus? Concept development, Nicole. And the kids are not going to get it because my room's a mess. They are all over the place. I need you to come fix these kids. Y'all know, y'all don't look at me like that, but y'all been there. Y'all right? Y'all have been there. So I said, okay, all right. So let's take it back 3 notches. Let's look at behavior management and productivity. At that time it was a coach. Let Roxanne come into your room. Let's really focus on that because it sounds to me that behavior is a high area of where you want to focus in on. Okay, then I want to do concept development next. I said, no problem, let's do it. So in that moment, she did allow us to videotape, y'all, which is huge because some teachers do not like to be videotaped. So we did get a chance to videotape, and in that moment, she was able to see that she was not ready and she was not prepared. And so it was a huge aha moment, not only for her, but for myself, because sometimes I think we push, and not only that, we have to go along with the teachers, okay?
Okay, I'd say lessons learned for me is those practices that we are trying to get teachers to use in emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. It's a parallel process. So I can't come in to a teacher and say, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and let me tell you how to get it done. I can't do that because they need the quality of the emotional support from me. They need my support, they need my respect, they need praise. Adult learners want to be validated even more than children. I mean, it is so important that you're giving that validation to teachers. Classroom organization, I need to be productive with their time. I cannot waste their time in a grade level meeting. I cannot waste their time in a reflective meeting because they are busy. So I really need to I need to have instructional learning formats. I need to have a lot of different ways that they are learning. And then in instructional support, I need to show them the respect that they are thoughtful professionals that can find that information on their own. When I'm developing concepts, it can't just be let me show you, let me tell you how I did it, and then you repeat it. Just the same as if I'm sitting in front of a child, I can't say, see, this is the letter A because I said so, it's the letter A, now you know it, right? Of course they don't. We're developing concepts, we're digging deeper, and that is the same thing that teachers need as children need. So good practices for class are important for young children. They're really important for adults. And they're important for adult learning, but they're also really important that you're engaging with adults that way so that they in turn are engaging with children that way.
Okay, next, because we're running out of time, we're going to close with the video with Kayla. It's about hopefully 3 minutes. Okay.
On digging into the class book because, it's one thing if you take it home on your couch and read through it, but to really look at these things as a team was extremely beneficial in our class scores and our student scores as well. So we would meet as a group, we would go over, pick a specific domain, whether it's social emotional, classroom organization, or instructional support, and we'd really look at the examples. And I'm a visual learner, so for me, being able to read the book, but not only the book provides examples for low, mid, and high, what it would look like, and the depth and duration of that practice. And so giving those examples and then identifying, what does my classroom look like? Where would I fall? And that's my own perception, but thinking in like, what could I do to further that and bring me to the next level? And you will find the depth and duration is what, it's important to do the things, but they're more so looking at how often and how frequent you're doing those things. So with diving deep into the book, we extended into the Teachstone videos, and being a visual learner, that's where I could pinpoint, I want to look at a specific indicator, whether it's feedback loops, and they would type in feedback loops and pull up videos, and we could watch those videos. And once you got comfortable with just watching the videos, then we would start deciphering, how many times are you seeing this teacher in the video use that indicator. So you're looking at the depth of that teacher, how often she's using those skills. So all in all, there's been a lot of, from year 1 to year 4, it was stepping stones. So it wasn't, I want to do class and I'm going to be class. It was a 4-year process, and there's always room for growth. And but what it's been really cool has been seeing your students, seeing your own class scores, but then seeing the student scores go along with your scores is what has made me most proud.
And with that, I just want to thank you guys for sitting through our presentation. And if you have any questions, I know we're pressed for time, but we are going to be packing up. So if you would like to ask us additional information, our email addresses are there, and feel free to come talk with us right after the workshop. But I just want to thank you for being here and thank you for listening.